Another one. Another one. Another one.
Mixed with vanilla, which is weird because vanilla is a tropical flavor and oranges are a tropical flavor, but they just, to me, it doesn't go well together.
Yeah, vanilla's basically a catch-all flavor to me.
Yeah, because they put it with everything.
Well,
even coconut.
Yeah. This is another welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 27 of Project Console. Your playtime has expired, and before we get into our topics, I'd like our panelists to introduce themselves.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Project Console. I am Joy Lemonstar, and oh god, not again!
Yeah, this is Mr. Red Fox, and I'm looking forward to sticking my foot in some companies' behinds in this cast.
All right. Well, and I'm Kanoshi Abamnito, the host of tonight's festivities, and why not jump right into it? So, first bit of news.
Another one.
Making another Kingdom Hearts 4 game.
Another one.
Another Kingdom Hearts game.
Another one.
So yeah. I know you two.
Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to let it first?
Well, which one of you want to start? I mean, I got my.
Let me take my shoe off. Let me take my shoe off, my walking shoe off, and put my foot, my butt kicking stomper on. Okay. And I'm saying this as someone who's not a fan of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Like, I didn't like Kingdom Hearts 1, I didn't like Kingdom Hearts 2, I didn't like Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't like the spin-off games. I just don't really give a flaming you-know-what about the Kingdom Hearts franchise in general. If Kingdom Hearts was a person and I heard that they were in a horrific car accident, I wouldn't care. Wouldn't even feel sorry for them. I'd be like, oh well. So with that being said, there being a Kingdom Hearts 4 announcement, I just don't care. It's I mean, I think they should have. I think Kingdom Hearts 3 pretty much ended in a wrap up to where they should have ended it and either started a new trilogy or done something else. Gaming companies have a problem that they just keep on extending franchises beyond where they should have beyond where they should have just wrapped everything up and started a new trilogy. Like the reason Halo is in the shape it's in is because
They didn't end it at 3.
well, they couldn't. They didn't end the trilogy at 3. They should have ended the trilogy at 3 and then started a new trilogy after 3.
I said that they didn't end it at 3, or at least end the. Make a new trilogy, but yeah.
The plan for this new one is they're starting a new arc for the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I mean, again, that story made no sense anyway.
Yeah, the story was nonsensical anyway.
So they should have just, Also, I don't really think I like the way the art direction they went with the characters, making them look too realistic.
That's where I'll have to disagree. I like the new art style. I like the new art style. It's better than what we had for the last 3 games that just looked ridiculous. I do like the concept that apparently it's been hinted in the announcement trailer they showed, that they might finally do Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that's
the only good thing about it.
That actually does kind of excite me.
I mean, they might do a better job with Star Wars than Disney has.
Yeah, I mean, they can't. I mean, they don't have.
Depending on where you drop them off at.
They can't mess it up any more than Disney has. At least this time, when you hit someone with your key saber, it makes sense that you're not slicing and dicing people into bits and pieces, because the key blades are basically just they're blunt weapons. It's not a sword. It's you're hitting people with a mace, basically.
Yeah, though, if anything, the beam that they shoot should be doing piercing.
Maybe not. Maybe it takes on the aspects of what you're equipped with. But I mean, at this point, I just don't really have much faith in Square Enix, or Kingdom Hearts, or Disney. So you have 3 IP. You have 2. You have a publisher, a company, and an IP that I don't have faith in coming together.
They shouldn't do the fusion dance.
Utilizing another IP that I've lost all faith in. So, I mean, at this point, my expectations are nil. They're nothing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I thought they were at sea level.
The thing about this game is they're developing it in Unreal Engine 4, but they're going to move it to Unreal Engine 5, which could be interesting, just, for the fact of what the demos that we've seen out of Unreal Engine 5.
I'm not exactly... The demos don't mean much to me because those are made strictly in Unreal Engine 5, but the cool thing about Unreal is that you can move assets over from the previous version of Unreal to the next version of Unreal without losing a lot of your work, which is a good thing. Because while I'm not a programmer, I have made games using engines.
RPG Maker?
Yeah, I primarily used RPG Maker, and I can tell you right now, one of the cool things about RPG Maker back in the day, jumping from 2000 to RPG Maker 2000 to 2003, was that you really, because functionally speaking, 2003 used an upgraded version, was essentially an upgraded version of 2000. You could just transfer most of your stuff over, and you didn't have to start from scratch. So, if you can just move a lot of those assets over, and it automatically, picks, like if they've already started an Unreal Engine 4 and they just take those assets and plug them into Unreal Engine 5, and it literally picks the component, like the comparison parts, comparison assets for what they're doing, then that's less work that the developers have to do. Less crunch, less work. So then they're not sitting there just rushing to do basics, like having to redo a lot of stuff. Because that's how you get broken, buggy games.
Yeah, and this game did show some gameplay. I mean, I know it's a vertical slice. Well, I mean, we're just gonna have to wait and see until
a thin vertical slice
until 2030 when this game finally releases. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it took
and
forever. Yeah.
actually, it took 14 years to come from 2 to 3. I
Yeah,
worry of how long it's going to take.
I mean, I'm one of those people who I don't really care about Kingdom Hearts. So, for people who like it, I'm glad that the people who like Kingdom Hearts are getting something that they like. And considering that Kingdom Hearts is more of a Japanese style game, I mean, I guess somewhat Square Enix realizes they have to stop trying to create Western style games for the Japanese. Like when people buy Japanese games because they like that Japanese, how Japanese developers make their games. They don't want Japanese developers trying to make Western style games. So maybe that means they're gonna try and stop trying to, go in a different direction. Maybe, I don't know.
So
One could hope.
one of the surprises that came out of this was the Nvidia leak that happened a few months ago with these listed games. Chrono Cross is on it. God of War was on it. The Uncharted trilogy or the Uncharted Legacy Collection was on it. Kingdom Hearts 4 was one of the games that popped up on it, and as a PC port, and people started going back to the Nvidia leak. Final Fantasy IX remake was also another game that that came out. The Final Fantasy 9 remake, but this was a good segue um, into the next topic. Chrono Cross is busted. The Chrono Cross
Oh
trilogy.
boy. Red, you're likely doing the victory dance on its grave.
I've actually been reading some articles about this, so I have some feelings. So here's what the article said. From the multiple articles I read, I didn't just read one article. I read like 5 or 6 because I wanted to see it from all different angles. So basically, Chrono Cross runs like trash on everything right now.
Yep.
If you want to play the best version of Chrono Cross, bust out that PS1.
Yeah.
Or an emulator. The sad thing is that the best current gen system that's running Chrono Cross is the Switch. But there's an asterisk next to that. It runs like trash on there too.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, this is a haphazardly done port. Once again, if you, like I said, if you want to play the most faithful to the original game version of Chrono Cross, your best bet is to bust out that PS1 or a PS2 that's backwards compatible with the PS1, or the backwards compatible PS3 that could play PS1 and PS2 games. Or emulate it and download one of the myriad of fan-made emulators where fans of this game have actually done a better job of porting it to modern systems than Square Enix did. It's a shame when fans of a game do better ports of that game than the people who made the game. And I know people are, the people who are going to defend Square Enix will say, well, they lost the source code. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're paying for a product, as a consumer, you don't care about excuses. You want the product to be what it's supposed to be.
They reverse engineered Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, if people are paying $20 for a game, or $30 or $40 or $50, however much they're paying, they expect it. I mean, even if they're paying $10, like, because I think at one point you could get the port of Chrono Trigger on mobile for $10, and it was a piss poor port because it was lazy. It had that weird sprite smoothing trash going on, and I mean, it was trash. If you're paying, if you're getting a free port of something, because I remember at one point Nintendo was like, for certain games, like this was back in the day, like if you bought certain if you got the Ambassador program for the 3DS and you got those games, like you bought it free, and they were like kind of like just basic ports of those Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games, Game Boy Color games. I mean, if they were just basic, I wouldn't say anything because I mean you're basically being given these 14 games for free. But they didn't do that. They were really good ports of those old games. But my point is this: if you're being given free like games for free, and the ports are kind of underwhelming, you didn't pay anything for it. But once you start paying for something, you expect a certain level of quality, and the port for Chrono Cross is trashed across all platforms, every single last one of them. And I reiterate my point. When fans of this game have done better ports, have basically done fan-made projects that have basically made it look better and run better, there's no excuse for people who are being paid to do this doing a worse job. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. It's embarrassing that people who are being paid for something are doing a worse job than people who are getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't go to a restaurant and be served food that's worse than what you can make at home.
Oh yeah.
And that's basically what we're getting with Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it. I don't want to hear any excuses. Well, this is not my problem. We lost the source code. Look, like Reggie says, not my problem.
Well, that's the thing. They lost the source code to Final Fantasy VIII, and they were able to bring that game out without much to little problems.
Yeah, but even if they didn't lose the code, it's not, as a consumer, it's not my problem that you had a problem as a company. As a consumer, once I buy your product, my responsibility is over.
All I'm asking, all I'm saying is why couldn't they get it right with Chrono Cross? But yeah, it's there's frame rate issues. The character models looked all right, but the backgrounds looked kind of blurry. They didn't look right. There was obviously it's a frame. There was a whole host of problems with the game, which is sad because, believe it or not, there's people that legitimately really like Chrono Cross. So
yeah, there are people who really like that game, and I'm not gonna I don't like Chrono Cross, but for the people who do like Chrono Cross, I feel sorry that they got such a half-assed game.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Because there are games that I love that have had some piss poor ports. So I kind of, I feel as Bill Clinton used to say, "I feel your pain." I feel your pain. But that's the world we live in, folks. These companies. Here's what people need to understand about these companies. These companies don't care about you. Okay, if a company can do the bare minimum and get your money, they're happy. If you don't hold them to a higher standard, they will do less than the bare minimum and get your money, and they're happy with that too.
Yep.
The people who buy Square Enix games actually think these companies care about them. It's like, oh, they care about me. They don't. They want your money. And if they can't get your money, they don't care.
Yeah. I'm just, I just don't get these companies that. How many times? I mean, we had Nintendo with the Mario trilogy. I mean, it wasn't necessarily as bad as this, but it was just super lazy. And then we had the Grand Theft Auto trilogy,
which was just embarrassing.
Embarrassing and sad.
Yeah, that was just embarrassing. That was like, y'all actually charged people $60 for this.
Yeah.
That was some bullshit right there. That was some grade A. That was what my father would call some grade A bullshit right there, boy.
Oh yeah. Yep. Grade A.
And they charged people for that. They charged people a ridiculous $60 for one of the most piss poor ports I have ever seen.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know you said earlier that Nintendo, but I would rather have what Nintendo did, which was just a basic port. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. It was basic.
It was
I'd rather you just do some basic shit than what that shit they did with
Chrono Cross?
no, with Grand Theft Auto.
Ooh.
I would rather have a basic port that's just some. I'd rather have some basic shit than something that's like what they did with with GTA. GTA was an embarrassment. You know. It's embarrassing when the definitive version of a game is the old original OG version of that game. That's embarrassing. And yet that's the case we have right now. The definitive version of GTA is the old version on the PS2 and the Xbox and on PC.
Yeah.
The definitive version of Chrono Cross is the PS1 version. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's not surprising when Square Enix effed up releasing Chrono Trigger 2. I mean, people forgot that that half-assed. Oh, we're just gonna port the smartphone version to PC.
Oh yeah, that was pretty bad. That was.
I mean, look, if you don't care about Chrono Trigger, which I mean, I don't care what anyone says. To many people, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Dragon Quest VIII, like these are three of arguably some of the best JRPGs of all time. And if you do piss poor ports of your best games, then what about a niche game that split the fan base back in the day, where it was like people were mad? Like in Japan, Japanese gamers were mad that it wasn't really a sequel to Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah.
So if you're gonna do a bad port job of a game that people don't really care all that much about, then I know that other stuff people aren't gonna care about. So. And I stand by that.
Yeah.
I know some people, how dare you? Come on, man. Y'all know. It's like, it's like that old joke. If someone's willing to beat their own behind, they don't care about me.
Yeah.
Or like if you're driving, right, and you're in your car and someone's in front of you and their car is a raggedy, it's been in a wreck and they didn't get it fixed. Look, if they don't care about their car, I'm gonna get around from them because if they don't care about their car, they don't give a what about mine. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
If Square Enix didn't care about releasing Chrono Trigger, then what made you think they cared about actually porting Chrono Cross to anything? So I mean, I'll stick. If I want to play Chrono Trigger, I will stick with playing my original version on my SNES, or if I want to play a portable version. If I had the DS version, I'd play it, but I don't want to play the DS version. If I wanted to play the game that was kind of where they tried to connect it to Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to play the DS version. But I mean, if I want to play. If I want to play Chrono Trigger and I want to play it with all of the fan-made enhancements that change the translation and add some of the stuff that was taken out of the US version, because believe it or not, like the best version of Chrono Trigger is the Japanese version. But I can't read kanji, so I'll play the hacked Japanese version of the fan translated version with like all the extra content added in that's like been hacked. I'll play the emulated version, which is actually pretty good. So what I'm gonna say is I'm not gonna play Chrono Trigger the version on Steam, even though I have the version on Steam, but I got it for free because I bought something else from Square Enix and I could get like. Forget what it was. I could get like one game like 1 or 2 games off of Steam, and I chose Chrono Trigger because I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, because like you can get mods for Chrono Trigger on Steam that basically make it like the like console version back in the day, not the PlayStation version. That one stinks, but but the console version. So
While we're on this topic of Chrono Cross, uh, skip down to the fourth topic, and then we'll go back to the third topic. PlayStation games are expiring. Somebody tried to re-download Chrono Cross, probably because they were disappointed by the port and they wanted to play a better version of Chrono Cross.
or at least a functional version.
Somehow the expiration date was 1969. Nice.
Yeah, December 31st, 1969. That was the expiration date.
I mean, clearly Square Enix was like, look, we want to get $20 for a game when you could just download it for like, I think it was like $10 on everything else.
Yeah.
So this is what all these companies do. What these companies love to do is that they will take things off of marketplaces so then they can charge you an arm and a leg for it. And they're all doing it.
Yeah,
okay,
don't did this with the Tropical Freeze.
Look, don't think for a second that only Square Enix is guilty of this. Okay? All these companies, Sony does it, Microsoft does it, Nintendo does it, Sega, well actually Sega's been pretty good, but the rest of them, they all do this. They're like, hey, we're coming out, we're re-releasing this game, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it so that you can't play it on your old hardware.
Sega's classic games, I would say, they probably aren't the most, but compared to a lot of these other companies, they seem to be the most accessible because
pretty good because you can always get Sega's game collections on some platform for cheap. Like you can get their classic collection on like I think I got Sega's like 200 plus game collection on Steam for like $3.99.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all
like all those games. People are like, I want that game on the Sega mini thing. I'm like, I got all those games for $4. Because I'm cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and even if I never play them, I got them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's the digital future. You know, everybody wants the all digital people who want the all digital future. Expect that to happen. Expect your games to just be taken away from you, even if they're on your hard drive. Just expect to be locked out of your games. Be like, well,
I mean, they aren't locking you out of your games. They aren't locking you out of your games. They're making it harder for you to download your games, which is why people got mad at me when I said one of the big things I do with all of my games is I go and what I do is that I take my old games and I digitize my physical games so that I can play them anytime I want with my emulators and stuff. Because I get tired, like it's a pain constantly going back and switching out cartridges. And yes, I know people are going to say, but Mr. Red Fox, don't you have an EverDrive that lets you play a lot of those games? Yes, but you still have to hook up the system to a CRT. And it's a pain sometimes.
Yep.
It's a pain. But yeah, like it's like basically these companies want to control when you play your old games. And I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's not cool, and I don't like it. And I know what some people are going to say. Well, you could just, they look. If they had systems where I could buy these games, I would buy them for the nth time. Because, like, when Nintendo had their Virtual Console, I bought a ton of those games that I have the physical versions for. Because I didn't feel like hooking up all these old systems to my CRT. And it was just easier just to emulate them, legitimately by buying the license and downloading them to my Wii, and then migrating that to my Wii U and playing those Virtual Console games on my 3DS. It was easier.
And they cleaned up some of the visuals in those games too. So not only were you getting an emulation, but you were also getting a somewhat cleaner version of the game as well. You know, with the higher resolution and more stable. But yeah, it's crazy how they took a few steps back, but
Yeah,
that's another topic for another day.
yeah. I mean, look. Plus, I don't like people having a say on how I game. Um, like I don't like that. That makes me angry.
Yeah,
Like I don't like people knowing how I play my games, what I do with my games. I don't like it. I don't think people should have control over how you play your games. But that's my own personal opinion.
yeah,
You know, if you're okay with people renting games to you, knock yourself out. I'm not one of those people. Like I don't want people to have control over how I play my games. But hey, to each his own.
Anything else you guys like to say about PlayStation games expiring before we move back to the third topic?
Hmm. At least they used a date that was nice.
What, 1969? Yeah, they just put that
Yeah.
in there because I mean, this is. I mean, like I said, this is all because Square Enix, like, because I guarantee Chrono Cross on the PlayStation is like $10 on the PSN, whereas it's $20 every place else, and they want that extra money.
Yeah,
But I mean, I wouldn't be upset if it was a decent port, but it's a piss poor port. Like, if you're gonna charge me for something, at least do a decent job.
yeah, oof,
I mean, it's. I don't mind paying. I don't mind buying things multiple times. Like I've bought Rogue Galaxy like 3 times. I have 2 versions of the actual game, and I've got the and I've got the downloadable version as well. Like I don't mind buying a digital game multiple times. That doesn't bother me. But if you're gonna sell me something, at least have the decency to make it a good port.
yeah, yeah,
Don't
exactly.
just sell me some BS. Oh yeah, this is look at this half behind port right here. Yeah, I know this
uh,
port's trash, but what are you gonna do about it? What am I gonna do about it? No, I'm not gonna buy it. That's what I'm gonna do.
yeah,
This is why people pirate, folks. This is why, because people, everyone's like, oh, don't emulate, don't pirate. If people are selling you trash, why should you accept that?
yeah. So, the third topic, um, the Intellivision Amico. I don't know if any of you guys have been following this, this, this mess.
Um, I was hearing it was a train wreck, but I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
how much.
it's the Chameleon Part Two. I forgot what the
Amico Chameleon.
no the there was another console, another scam console that came out a few years that they were trying to push a few years ago. I think it was called like the Midway Chameleon or something like that. I don't exactly remember the name of the console. Um, but yes, the Intellivision Amico is a complete scam console. Uh, they did a fake unboxing video, which um, the CU podcast. It's done by Pat, the NES kid, the NES punk.
NES Punk.
Yeah, he did a video. He did a segment on his podcast, breaking the fake all the fake nonsense down. For example, the languages aren't right. Like for French, they completely mistranslated the French language. Um, Obviously, a lot of the stuff isn't ready, like the store for the games are not ready. There were still a lot of other language mistakes, spelling errors. They misspelled their own product name. I believe it was on the splash screen. The box
Oh
already looked like
God.
it already had been opened. Yeah, the whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a mess.
And I thought that rip-off Sega console was as much a disaster as it could get for sellable consoles.
You mean at games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing about at games is that like Sega actually licensed that. That wasn't like a like it was a legit Sega actually allowed at games to license that. So that wasn't a ripoff. They and people had told Sega for years, yeah, stop giving at games your games license because the at games consoles are trash. They're cheap and trash.
Yeah, the Coleco. It was called the Coleco Chameleon.
Yeah, Coleco Chameleon.
Yeah, that thing was that was also a complete another disaster too.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think?
I can already hear from a mile away. This is gonna put at games goof ups to look like Picassos.
Well, the Amico thing is worse than at games because at games, like I said, was a legitimate. It was Sega being.
I know
cheap.
that's the thing. As I said, it'll make what at games did look like a Picasso.
But what Tommy Tallarico and his little investor group did with the Intellivision Amico is like straight up it was some fraudulent stuff, but it wasn't even big money. Like, I mean, if you're gonna be fraudulent, go big. Like, pull an Enron and steal billions of dollars. These people didn't even steal millions.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, if you're gonna do fraud, go big. It's like I remember when I was a kid and I used to go shopping with my grandmother, who was at the time, in hindsight, I know that she had glaucoma and her eyesight was failing. But at the time, she was like one of those shoppers who everything she has to pick up and look at, and she talked to herself. And so the store detectives would follow us around because they thought she was stealing. And like, I'd be walking with my grandmother and turn around, and the store detectives would like pretend like they weren't following us. And I'm like, look, if I was gonna steal, I would not steal from Sears.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I was gonna steal, I'd go big. Like, knock over a bank or a casino.
Oh yeah.
Or
You have better targets.
Or create a program that steals like 0.003% of every transaction, like siphons it off into a Swiss bank account. Why would I steal if I'm going to go to jail for theft? Sears? Really?
They were hoping that they could pinch that penny so hard that it would turn into gold bars. That's what they. I guess that's what they were hoping. I don't know.
I was going to say, if you're trying to pinch a penny to make gold, you're better off pinching off something else from your behind.
Well, the hilarious thing about the Amico is that it really sold because it had Tommy Tallarico attached to it. Tommy Tallarico, the guy who made a lot of music during the 16-bit era, like Aladdin and Earthworm Jim and stuff like that. But here's the thing. That is a terrible, terrible reason to support a console. Like, let's be all honest here, okay? We all love the music created by Graham Norgate and David Wise and Koji Kondo, but what's his name? Yuzo Koshiro. But just because I like their music, if they said, "Hey man, we're making a console," I'm like, I'm gonna trust you making a console just because I like your music.
That's like trusting a person that runs a fast food restaurant to make a piece of art.
Yeah.
I remember seeing stuff for the because I think the Intellivision came out like what in the 70s, the 80s.
It was one of those consoles that came out around the same time as the Atari. It was like, because people like to say, oh, the console wars. The console wars back in the day were way better than the console wars now, where you just have 3 consoles. Like when the Atari was out, you had the Odyssey, the Intellivision, the ColecoVision, the Atari, for a time the Fairchild Channel F, plus numerous clones of each other, plus PCs, plus the 8-bit PCs. So you had like a lot of competition. Now all you got is just these three consoles sniping at each other, and that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah, we got. Well, one of the things I'd like to say is like.
I'm gonna say it would be the
we
3
take-
consoles and a copies or weird clones, but I'm not sure how many are left.
We take controllers for granted because all those controllers just look terrible, especially the Intellivision. I was always kind of confused by that controller. It's like, how does this thing work?
Well, the Intellivision controller worked for the games that were built for the Intellivision, because there were certain games that were it was good for, like like the paddle attachment for the Atari. The knobs. Like that actually worked really well for certain things, for certain types of games, like Breakout. So it just depends on what the game was. But I mean, like, people don't have nostalgia for the Intellivision.
Yeah.
Like, no one had a nostalgia for the Intellivision. Like, people have nostalgia for the NES. People have some nostalgia for the Atari. People have nostalgia for the Sega Genesis or the Master System or the TurboGrafx 16 or the NES.
I mean, yeah.
No one has nostalgia for that other stuff.
I mean, I think the only people that have nostalgia for are those hardcore collectors, and that's like 5 people.
Yeah, that's a very small percentage, and they scam those people out their money.
Yeah.
They scammed those people out their money. They took advantage of them. It's embarrassing. It's sad. It's embarrassing and it's sad. But like I said, I mean, if you listen to the completely unnecessary podcast with Pat Contry and Ian Ferguson, they go really in depth on how the Intellivision Amico was just a scam from the start. Just scam. Oh, yeah. And they stole people's money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel sorry for people. I feel sorry for people who lost their money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just people who lost their money, no one else.
That's the problem with a lot of these Kickstarters is you gotta do some real due diligence. You gotta be careful because you could put your money in a dud, and they could take the money and run. There are a few Kickstarters I hear that were successful, like Shovel Knight, like let's see what else. I mean Bloodstain, Ritual of the Night. I know I didn't really like that game too much, but it was it was a finished product. And then you have early access games that were had pretty decent startings, like Risk of Rain 2. Let's see, there was Hades, there was Dead Cells, but there are a lot of duds when it comes to early access, or
Your mileage may vary depending on the game, but yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta really look into the people that are doing the Kickstarter, the people that are doing the early access, because that's a form of Kickstarter in a way.
Yeah, but early access does show you a product.
Yeah, Yeah.
Like there is something there. And I mean, I know like people are going to be like, Kickstarter is not the same thing as early access because early access does show you a product. Kickstarter is a promise of something. You're giving someone money on the promise that they might eventually fulfill it. And for most of them, they don't succeed. Either they don't meet the Kickstarter goals or they take the money and they realize, oh, it's more expensive than we anticipated. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yep. Yep. I vaguely remember the Chameleon. I remember they showed the console off, and it just turned out that it was just a bunch of unnecessary parts duct taped together inside of a shell, um, and they turned out to be
A scam.
well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole thing was just really scummy from the start because it just like it just always kind of felt it's like this is just running emulated stuff, and they showed a shell, and it was just a FPGA, which is basically just a bootleg version of a Mister. It was just bad.
Yeah.
It was all just really bad.
I was gonna say, bad is probably putting it lightly, Red.
I mean,
I think the word would be atrocious, vile, and probably sleazy.
well, I mean, I don't like. Okay, I think in the case of the Coleco Chameleon, I think in the beginning, I'm not making excuses, but I think in the beginning, Mike Kennedy was like, "I want to bring back this IP." I think he was enthusiastic about it, and I think he began to get caught up in the BS, and over time, him getting caught up in the BS got turned into a lie.
Yeah.
That's what I think. But I think that I think even the Intellivision Amico, I think at one point in the beginning, maybe the people involved were like, yeah, we're going to make a console. We can get this money together and we'll do this. But over time, it eventually turned into just a scam. Because none of the people who were in charge were really handling this like a business. Like the first thing you do in a business, you don't take your money that you take in your Kickstarter or your fundraising and start opening up buildings. Like the first thing you do is you open up a place if you're building hardware to like a lab or a tech development place so you can get the hardware together. Because that's what you're doing. You're releasing hardware. You need a place where you can do the hardware. Nope.
Somebody's garage. I don't know. That's where a lot of inventions.
In the 70s. In the 70s. But nowadays it's a bit more. You got to have a little bit more.
Yeah, you gotta have a little bit more space.
I mean, there's tech places where they have like a lab where people develop their stuff, their technology. Like, why are you opening up offices where none of the actual work is being done?
Yeah,
it was very shady. It was very shady from the start.
Well, that's another one of these problems. You come to, like, for example, Mighty Number 9. You come to realize that these great developers aren't very good managers. They had somebody managing them. They had somebody keeping them under control, so they wouldn't so A, they could bring out a finished product, and B, actually bring out a quality product. So
in the case of Keiji Inafune, it was just he's not a very good manager.
Yeah.
He's not a very good manager. Although, like, Keiji Inafune was right about some stuff. Like, he was about 10 years too early, but he was right about some stuff. Like, he was right that Western gamers would eventually overtake the Japanese market, like, in terms of sales and who you had to cater to. What he was wrong with was that he thought that meant that they had to abandon how they made their games. When it's really Western gamers like that Japanese style of gameplay.
Yeah, as we saw with Elden Ring and how well that sold. So
yeah, Like, you don't have to throw away your old stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
but,
You have to keep to yourself, basically, and try not to deviate into other lanes
I
that
mean,
the
I wouldn't
people
go
don't
that
recognize,
far.
right?
You can experiment, but don't put huge amounts of money in experimenting. Which is kind of like where
That's a
KG.
double-edged sword, then, because you don't want to deviate from what made you who you are, but if anything, it can get stale, and your popularity will only go so far with certain things.
No. I mean, okay. Case in point. Um, like, we like to talk. A lot of people like to talk a lot of trash about Keiji Inafune, and I'm one of them. But some of the stuff he made in his Western initiative was actually pretty good. Like Lost Planet. It's actually a pretty good game. Lost Planet 2, not quite as good as the first one, but still pretty good. Lost Planet 3 is where they basically took that IP and gave it over completely to a Western developer, and it fell flat.
Yeah.
The first Bionic Commando Rearmed, that's actually a really good game, and it's made by a Western studio.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can have cases, but the thing is, like, Bionic Commando Rearmed and Rearmed 2, those games are small games. They're small games where someone basically didn't put a lot of money into basically trying something new. Like, you can afford to experiment when you're trying on smaller games, which is what you should do. You should experiment on smaller games, because you shouldn't be like the Pokemon company that all they do is just the same thing with Pokemon over and over and over again. There needs to be experimentation and trying different things. You don't do that in your main games because it's too much of a shock for the people who buy those main games. But you do spin-offs games and like side games and stuff like that. So in that regard, Keiji Inafune was right that they needed to start embracing Western gamers, because, like, I read an article in GamesBeat, which is a spinoff of VentureBeat, where like 90% of the people who bought the last Tekken game were Western people. Only 10% of the sales of the latest Tekken game, came from Japan. If they were relying on the Japanese market to uphold Tekken, that IP would be dead.
Yeah.
So it's like you basically have to move where the money is, unfortunately.
What are Japanese people playing anyway? Like, they don't.
Mobile games,
Yeah.
RPGs.
I remember hearing at least a few years ago, and this was several years ago, about sort of console gaming dying in Japan. So I guess they really like their mobile games. That's why. I guess that's the big reason the Switch is what it is.
I mean, plus the Switch basically took the Vita's market.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically like people who keep on talking about that. Like, the Switch basically ate the Vita's market. Because if Sony had actually supported the Vita, I don't think the Switch would have taken off as much as it did in Japan. It would have taken off, but there still would have been, that cannibalization of what was going on with other stuff. But because Sony just basically said, it's hard, give up.
The thing about the Vita, yeah, I really liked what the Vita was going for. I just didn't like some of the business decisions Sony had, like not supporting the console, proprietary memory cards. That's the thing that just that's why I still
Killed it.
even, yeah, that's why I still haven't bought one today, because those stupid cards are still kind of expensive.
Yeah, I have a Vita TV, and I got it when they reduced the price to like $50. No, it was $25. And it came with a Blu-ray voucher, so I got a Blu-ray with it too. So they basically gave me money to buy the Vita TV.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, I totally do get that people like, the Vita was a good idea. It just wasn't supported.
No. Yeah,
Like
that's the problem.
the Vita and the 3DS are so similar because both the Vita and the 3DS had kind of weird ideas. But the difference is that Nintendo supported the 3DS and it became a success. Whereas Sony gave up
Yeah,
on the Vita.
all that kept the Vita alive was the well, okay. What kept it treading water was an indie developer uh supported the Vita. And I
Yeah,
think
and the small tier developers, the small tier developers supported that console. I mean, yeah, that handheld in Japan.
yeah, and I think it was what a couple of years into its life, Sony was like, Vita's legacy hardware. It's like it's not even
Yeah,
3 years old. You're calling it legacy hardware. Well, shoot. Oh,
I guess that's it.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I guess we're done.
And it's
I
kind
guess
of
that's it.
and they supported the PSP. That did fairly well for them.
The PSP sold, I think, 50 million,
Yeah, I mean,
which isn't. I mean, that's okay. If you're going up against Nintendo's handheld, that 50 million is a success because the Sega Game Gear nor the Nomad got those types of numbers. Okay,
yeah,
so y'all just need to be like, look, we did the best we could.
yeah, exactly. Um, so topic 5. Uh, Nvidia wants to raise your electric bill. So there are rumors that the AMD 60 or 7700 XT will outperform or perform as well as the 6900 XT graphics cards and will use roughly 200 watts of power. Uh, Nvidia's mid to higher end cards are going to use like 400 to 600 watts of power. Uh, so, so yeah, the looks like the AMD's cars will be a bit more efficient, as well as pretty powerful when it comes to games. And then I saw another rumor today that the if I remember that Nvidia might end up skipping the whole Loveless fourth 4000 series, like they did with I don't know, like they did with the GTX 8000, because I remember they went from GTX 7000 to 9000, and I guess either 8000 didn't exist or it existed and
It was a flop.
It was a flop. It didn't perform to their liking. So, next generation of graphics cards, the battle could be interesting. Nvidia could be in a little bit of trouble, which would be interesting to see, because it's like that was the only that was pretty much the only card anybody got. It's like, yeah, it was a Nvidia card.
Um, I think that I think at the end of the day, it just boils down to um, I think none of these companies really did anything big with their next cards. They just added more transistors to the die. That's all. I mean, more processors to the die. That's all they did.
Yeah.
Which, if you add more processors to the die, the only thing that's happening is, yeah,
Able to process only a little bit better.
yeah, the processing power. It's better at processing, but it's also drawing more power. I will give Intel credit is that they're actually trying to innovate how they put processors on their die versus AMD and Nvidia. Because remember, AMD and Nvidia just came out with new graphics cards 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, how like I know people like Moore's law and all that stuff, but really, for real, Moore's law only is really effective if you're talking business to business transactions, server stuff. The stuff that's coming to consumers, come on, man. All they did.
The software isn't you like the software just hasn't necessarily caught up. Like there's still there's still not a lot of games that use ray tracing. I mean, there's a lot of games that use DLSS and Super FX. I think that's what AMD's DLSS or
Equivalent.
DLS.
Yeah, all they did was just add more processors to the die, and it's just making it draw more juice. That's all it is. That's all. And they added more processors to the die. They put it in they maybe added more pins for power, and they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah.
So you're either gonna have to buy an adapter for your motherboard, in order to add more pins so that it can pull more power, or you're gonna have to get a new power, a new PSU.
Power adapter?
A power PSU is just it's the power unit for your PC. You're gonna have to get a new power unit for your PC, and that's it. That's all this is. Okay, like people are like, oh no, this is gonna be so amazing. I'm like, no, it isn't. Okay, because
I was going to say it's going to be like a small graphical boost, right?
It's not even going to be. The thing is that they're just. It's like if you have a car, okay, and it's 4 cylinders, and then you add another 4 cylinders. So now it's an 8-cylinder car. Yeah, your car is going to be able to drive faster. It's going to have a higher acceleration, a higher torque, but it's also going to use more gas because there's more cylinder. There's more engine to power, and that's the issue with Nvidia and AMD with these. Oh, we're coming out with new graphics cards. Why? Why?
I think the answer is probably just like AMD came out with their very lackluster CPU, the 4500, the R5 4500, and is to please investors. It's the same reason Intel came out their lackluster 11th gen CPUs. It was to please investors because they have to keep coming out with something new to get more so that they can make more money for their investors.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. I think in the case of AMD, I think they were like, look, we have something that's going to let us basically go up against Intel's dominance in because their RH processors are basically like they're all in one. Like the graphics card and the CPU are all on one chip.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing. So if you have a laptop or a tablet, having that type of CPU in there means that it can be lighter, it can be smaller, but you also have some ability to play some games and do some graphical enhancement type stuff, which is cool. If you're someone who does animation and you have one of those sketch pads, like a chip like that would be great for that. Or you're an architect and you want to do basic sketching and it's connected to your PC. That's great for that. But I mean, if you're into gaming, this is trash.
Yeah.
An all-in-one CPU is never going to be as good than a dedicated graphics card, unless you're doing like emulation, like ARM stuff, like a Raspberry Pi or something. And then that's only up to a certain generation of gaming.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it'll I don't know. I just kind of like I like the fact what Nvidia did with the we're going for with the GTX 10 series cards with using less power, being more efficient. And then the ray tracing, and it's like, oh, just throw all that out the window. Hey, look, we got a better light show for you guys.
Yeah, ray tracing that no one's using.
Yeah, that's very
like why
it actually looks really impressive. anyway.
Yeah, old stuff like Doom. Yeah, you want to play Doom with ray tracing? Minecraft, a game that's 10 years old. Yeah, I want to play a 10-year-old game with ray tracing.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, if you want to drop $5,000 on your next GPU, well, I mean,
To play Doom, yeah, that's totally.
It's your money.
That makes no sense. Yeah, I want to spend hundreds. I want to spend thousands of dollars to buy to do ray tracing. Yeah, that's great. I'm IR smart. I'm being facetious, by the way.
I was about to say, your sarcasm is thick.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm being facetious.
I mean, the bright side, though. The bright side to all this. When these cards drop, expect the cards to that are out now to plummet because people are gonna really want to dump their old stock to get the new stuff.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't think people are gonna be racing out, getting the 4000 series, getting the 7000? No.
No. Why? There's no reason for it.
I get what you're saying. It's just people are really dumb when it comes to this stuff because they're like, I need the new shiny thing. I need the new shiny.
Not when prices of everything else are going up and people like have to worry about paying their rent or their groceries.
It's short priorities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me trade in my perfectly good graphics card so I can get a new graphics card that's only marginally better than what I'm getting. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Let's use some sense here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, if it was like 5 years ago, maybe. Now, no.
Yeah,
no, I don't see it.
Because let's face it, we're basically we pretty much are in a recession.
I mean, I'm not going to say we're in a recession. We have greedy ass people who are raising prices because they have an excuse to. Because we live in America where, people worship at the altar of capitalism, which means, get paid any way you can, even if it screws people over. Like, you want to know why buying food in England is cheap and they have more buying power with the pound than the American dollar? Because there's price controls. The government controls the price of food in England. We don't have that here in America. Like, very few things in America are price controlled. Because, capitalism. So, I mean, everyone's like, oh man, well, the reason we raised our prices is because of the price of gas. I'm going to let you on a little secret.
Yeah.
The price of gas has been falling for the last 2 weeks. So anything where the price has gone up and they say it's the price of gas, they're full of shit. They're lying to you, okay? They're greedy. They're greedy bastards who want to get paid because of capitalism. Because we live in an economy, we live in a country where everyone worships at the altar of capitalism. And I have nothing against people getting paid, but some things you just need to make. You need to make enough money to live and live well, and not be trying to make all the money. And unfortunately, we don't. We don't live in that country.
I mean, you saw Netflix and Amazon raise their prices just, and they were probably the companies that were making the most money when people were
exactly because of capitalism. Okay, it's like, well, the price of gas, it costs you no money to. Never mind. I'm not.
Free Fred.
Let me put it this way, okay? If there was a wheat shortage, and the price of baked goods went up, like things that use wheat were going up, or corn, that would make sense.
It'd be understandable.
Yeah, it would make sense that the price of things associated with that would go up. But this is just greed. This is not what people would have you believe.
Yeah,
and I get tired of people. Oh no, we're in a recession. Look, I know recession. That what we went through under George Bush, during the
During his term,
2008 housing
yeah,
crash.
that was a recession. Okay.
Oh,
What we got right now, this is people being greedy, and because we live in a country where we can't, like, there's no price controls on certain things. You know, it's whatever the market will bear. That's what we're dealing with, and it's not cool. You know, it's not cool that people can hold us over the barrel like that. You know, now I have an electric car. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I have an electric car and I have a non-electric vehicle. Okay,
Mhm.
and my non-electric car, I have not, like, I just basically drive it around every once in a while. Not for the gas reasons. Just I prefer my electric vehicle because I'm not going that far in my other vehicle. But you know, seeing these people take advantage of people, because that's what they're doing. It's sad. You know, you pass a gas place and one gas place is charging an arm and a leg for gas. The other gas place is being reasonable. You know, and the price of gas has been going down for the last 2 weeks. So that's just it's just greed. That's all it is. It's just people being greedy.
Yeah. Man.
You know, this is not. Oh my God, the price of everything is going, because some things aren't going up.
That's why I just kind of, stuck between. It's like, are things really that bad, or is it just people making money trying to scare you half the time? Because you gotta play that, balancing act. Because you got a combination of, yeah, there are things that are pretty bad, but at the same time, you got people that are trying to scare you into doing something that you probably wouldn't do if you were being rational.
Let me put it this way. To me, it is it's this is greed. Okay. Now, okay, I'll be honest with you, right? Like Ukraine, you know, I don't know how this got into the war of Ukraine, but in the Ukraine right now, they're dealing with, you know, Russia attacking them. Ukraine basically produces cheap wheat for a lot of places in Europe. Okay,
Yeah.
like a lot of places. So if you get your wheat from Ukraine, which a lot of places in Europe do, Ukraine being attacked
the
by
price
Russia
spike.
is going to make your food prices go up. That makes sense. Literally 3% of our oil here in America comes from Russia. The rest of it is produced domestically. So really, like, in OPEC raising their prices, we're not a member of OPEC. So this is just these companies here in America being greedy because they can.
They can. I remember after it was 9/11,
Yeah.
they just artificially raised their prices to $4 a gallon. I remember people
Yes.
saying gas. I remember that
Yes.
happening.
So you know what? Like, everyone's like, oh no, capitalism. Let me tell you something. F capitalism. Okay? Okay?
Those are
you
his
know,
words, not ours.
you know what stinks in America, right? Even if you have really good insurance, like if you have some of the best insurance you can get in America, if I go to certain places for a medical exam, I still have to pay $25. You want to know how much my friends in the UK pay to go see a doctor for an annual checkup?
0.
Nothing. If they have to go get their allergy medication, you know how much they pay for it? Nothing.
Near nothing.
But here in America, we have the best healthcare. No, we don't. We're like number 37. Shut up.
Yeah, that's pretty bad compared to.
I don't want to hear that. Okay, I don't want to hear. Oh, it's the best. And you got these people. I don't want socialized medicine. Man, if I could afford it, I would move to another country just to have socialized medicine. I totally, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, I don't mind. Just pay it in my taxes, and then I just can go show a card and get my medicine or get my checkup. No problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate that. That really angers me when people are like, yeah, it's because of capital and people, the need for people to be it's not enough to make enough money. You know, like there's been times where someone offered me to do something that was inherently scummy to me business wise. I was like, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because yeah, I'd make more money, but I don't need like not for that. You know,
Yeah.
not for that. But
Yeah, and
but I'll let it go.
one last thing about this. I also don't think you know insurance should necessarily be profitable, or you should get into insurance to make a profit, because I mean, you're supposed to
Protect.
protect. Should be focusing on protecting people when you know they have medical ailments that are very expensive. But anyway,
I would agree with you, but we live in a world where people want to make money. And look, I'm not against making money, but I do not want people taking advantage of me. I really don't.
yeah, there was a woman in college that had a hard time getting insurance because she was a higher risk medically, and it wasn't because she smoked or was drinking alcohol or doing drugs. It's because of a condition
Her
that she
gender.
developed, condition that she developed over time, and they just wouldn't take her because she would have costed too much. Just like,
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah,
ridiculous.
that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. Unfortunately, we live in a world of greed and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get to our last final topic, and that is the Sega Super game. Um, they kind of sort of explained it, but it's kind of convoluted. So essentially, what I get out of it, well, first of all, it's the idea of creating AAA experiences. Um, I guess within 5-year intervals, and these AAA experiences being connected with each other uh, in different ways, like specific items can be transferred from game to game. Um, like they're experimenting with this this dirty word NFTs,
Oh God.
and yeah, it seems like what they want to create is not just necessarily a game, but some sort of interactive media that goes beyond games. But this kind of, at least from what from what I've heard, it just sort of sounds like a pie in the sky, uh, convoluted uh, vision. Unless they actually show what they're hoping to do, it it really doesn't make a ton of sense.
This
So
reminds me
you
of Destiny's plot line.
so you're essentially saying that this is in fact a parody of this is in fact a life imitating art of the Chewbacca defense in South Park. It makes no sense. Chewbacca is a Wookiee from Kashyyyk, and yet he lives on a planet with Ewoks. It makes no sense. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It does make no sense. Like when I heard about this Sega Super Game Initiative, it sounded like Sega was doing a Japanese version of the Avengers Initiative from the first Iron Man, where they had that little special thing where like Sam Jackson's like, "We're working on the Avengers Initiative." It's like that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
felt like.
it's pretty crazy. It's I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Sega. I know they're in a lot of debt as it is. I remember at least a couple of years. No, it wasn't a couple. It was like it's like 6, 7 years ago. They were talking about being in a great deal of debt. They just sold their or closed their arcades in Japan.
Yeah, they sold them to Super Fun or something like that. I forget what it's
So
called.
this is, this whatever it is, it has to work for them, or else I think they're gonna be pretty much done.
If Sega could just make good games, if you just make good games, like stop trying to get into fads and just make good games. Like I don't know why these companies just refuse to do this. Just make good games. It's not hard.
Yeah, they're I guess they're investing in Microsoft's Azure server technology for some cloud implementations. This whole
I mean,
thing
that'd be
sounds
cool.
this whole thing sounds like a mess, but
I mean, like cloud gaming, okay. Physical arcades are becoming very niche unless you're like a barcade where people can get drunk and eat chicken wings and stuff like that while playing video games. But arcades as we knew them when we were younger, where it was like a shady place where loud like that's going the way of the dodo unless you're Dave and Buster's or like an experience. But if you could have like a virtual arcade where people could play games through their smartphone or their consoles and play against each other through the power of the cloud. Well, actually, it's just internet connection. That'd be cool. If that's what Azure's gonna be, if that's what Sega's trying to go for, I'm not against that.
yeah.
I'm not against that. But I mean, Sega is constantly messing up. Like that's Sega's thing, is that they're constantly messing up. So I mean, I don't have much hope, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean that could be what it could be, some kind of virtual arcade where certain aspects of games are connected to each other. It'd be interesting to see a game that was specifically optimized and developed for cloud hardware versus games that are ported to the cloud for the server hardware.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be against that. I would not be against, like, let me put it this way. Between cloud gaming and the other big no-no, which is
NFTs.
yeah, NFTs, I'd rather have cloud gaming versus NFTs.
Yeah.
Because at least cloud gaming is a thing. Whereas NFTs just... Even the best NFTs come off as very scammy.
Yeah, the problem with NFTs is it's a super big fad. It's a nice buzzword. It's its own .com bubble where people are trying to make as much money as they can before it pops.
Yeah,
and,
the people at the top want more people to get in so that they can pull their money out and get paid and leave other people holding the bag, who in turn have to get more people in so that they can pull their money out and leave those people at the bottom holding the bag.
I was going to say, this feels like a pyramid scheme.
It is. It is a pyramid scheme. You're absolutely right. It is a pyramid scheme.
That bubble will pop, and people curse NFTs for a while until somebody figures out how to properly implement them.
Yeah, and good luck with that. No, I think there will eventually be NFTs properly implemented, but it's going to take... It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen this year. It probably will happen the next 5 or 6 years. And a lot of people are going to lose money before people figure out how to do it properly. Because the thing is that NFTs are very hard to regulate. And until currency is regulated, it cannot be accepted as a major thing.
I was going to say, I thought that was cryptocurrency that was not regulated yet.
No, NFTs is a form of crypto. Like all that, any currency that cannot be regulated cannot be sanctioned as a general use currency, because if there's no regulation, it's not sanctioned by a government, which means that it's not really used. It cannot be trusted.
Yeah, which is why I have to wonder why I keep on seeing cryptocurrency advertisements on my phone.
It's probably some scam stuff. But if, for example, right? Like, if anyone here could just go, I mean, it's the reason why it's illegal to counterfeit bills. Because, like, it discredits the credibility of the currency that already exists if people could just print whatever bills they wanted. It's the reason why, people can't mint their own coins. Because it discredits the credibility of the coinage that already exists. The problem with NFTs and crypto and blockchain and all that stuff is that
how easily it's able to be duplicated?
No, there's no regulation to it. There's no regulation to crypto, NFTs, blockchain. Because there's no regulation, there's no way to basically say, yes, like if I go to a bank, right, and I get a cashier's check, okay, for $5,000, that bank has a record of me taking out $5,000. That $5,000 cashier's check is as good as cash. Like, no matter where I go, I can take that cashier's check and use it because it has the backing of the government, the bank. There's reputability to it. Yeah. Like, if I get an NFT, like, that NFT might be, when I bought the NFT, it might be worth $500. Tomorrow, it might be worth $5,000. The day after tomorrow, it might be worth $5. There's no regulation to it. There's no stability to it. The credibility is not very high. And most of the people I see who are all like, yeah, crypto and all that stuff, like the people who are really into it have really scummy reasons for people to want people to be into crypto that I've noticed.
Yeah.
At least to me. Like, I'm like, this is, bro, you're shady as heck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and explains why people are trying to go with the pyramid scheme of NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really shady. It's really, really, really shady. And I'm not cool with that. Like, like money, like the stock market is volatile enough without people doing shady
Ripping
stuff.
Each other off.
Well, without people doing shady stuff like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With NFTs. I mean, you saw that thing where someone sold $650 million worth of NFTs from that game.
Yeah. What game was it?
I mean, I forget what it was. It was this MMO where basically $650 worth of NFTs were stolen from the game.
Oh, I remember. It's the Alalo one.
I mean, I forget what it's called, but I'm like, man, how can I trust something when y'all can't even hold your stuff accountable? Yeah. And if it was money, it could be traceable, but NFTs are very hard to trace because there's no regulation to it.
Yeah.
I mean, no one should trust a money, no one should trust a currency that cannot be traced. Like, ever. And I don't care what anyone says. Oh, but because if you go to these websites where people say, yeah, that cryptocurrency is a scam. Well, you're just against having a currency that's uncontrolled. Why would you want to put your money in a currency that is uncontrolled and unregulated?
I don't know. I just don't like the idea.
I was gonna say you're better off playing the stock market.
I mean, that what that's like. That's like buying a car that has no brakes.
As I said, you're better off with the stock market. At least you could pull out your money before the crash.
Yeah, I bought this car. Yeah, it's got no brakes. The stock market has its issues too, but at least with the stock market, you can trace your money. There's regulations and stuff like that. There's nothing.
Yeah,
with crypto.
Like insider trading. Let's say.
Yeah.
People go to jail for that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone with crypto go to jail yet for doing shady stuff. Your money's just gone.
Believe it or not, there's two people that are the first ones that got busted for their cryptocurrency scam, and that's trying to add up more all the time, and that's in California, by the way.
All right. Okay, good. I stand corrected.
Yeah, really, the only time people really get busted for cryptocurrency was when they sell like illegal drugs and weapons on the black market using cryptocurrency.
Believe it or not, the two that were trying to do some illegal stuff with cryptocurrency is when they were trying to start another cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that makes sense, because a lot of these people who do this are stupid. I mean, I can't really... I've already done something shady, but I'm going to keep on doing shady stuff. I got away with it once. I won't get out doing it. Let's try it again. What's that old saying? Old black parents used to say, the pitcher went to the well 99 times, the 100th time it got broke.
Well, the only the one that I, see, it seems like the one that people back the most is Bitcoin. But
Yeah.
I just don't.
Even that's not regulated.
I don't like the idea of all my money being in a computer. So.
I mean, I'm not against because if you bank electronically, your money is a series of digits. But like I said, if your money's in a bank and you bank electronically, there's regulation on top of that to make sure that your money's there. If the bank gets knocked over, there's like a guarantee you're going to get your money back. There is no such guarantee with crypto. There's no one backing that up.
And you can also,
as I said, you're better off with the stock market with that kind of reliability.
Yeah, but like I said, with the stock market, there are regulations there. There's rules and regulations in place that you're not just going to be able. Like, if someone does some shady stuff in the stock market, and the proper regulation's been done, there's stuff in place to make sure that they're not just going to take your money and run away with it.
Yeah, you're right.
So none of that is there.
I should probably go with loot boxes.
Yeah, or the lotto. It's basically the lotto.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. It's the lotto.
The lotto actually pays out somewhat.
Yeah, but most of the time it doesn't. Like, there's 1 in millions of odds of someone winning the lotto. You do better taking your money and putting it in the stock market before putting it into a lotto. And that's the problem with all that stuff. It's all shady, and I don't trust it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not like, I've been tempted a couple times to buy some Bitcoin, but I'm just kind of like, I'd much rather buy some silver.
If it's a little bit of money, like $50, I don't mind. But aside from that, I don't trust it.
Yeah. That's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket either. But...
Yeah. I basically, that's why they say diversify your portfolio.
Yeah.
It's why you don't put all your stocks in one company. You diversify your portfolio, et cetera, et cetera. You don't just put your money in all one place, unless you're an idiot. Some people are idiots, so you never know. Some people are stupid.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you guys like to bring up before we call it a night?
Only thing I'm going to say is this. I've been playing Coromon, and I got some feels about it. Okay. It's, I will have my full review of Coromon.
Before Thursday?
No, I'll probably record the footage for it, sometime in the future. I'll probably record the footage for the game once I've gotten to the end game, and I'll probably do the other stuff. Probably record the footage for my other stuff. Probably sometime in I don't know, later on this week. Side games that are better than the core games they're based on.
Alright. Joel, you got anything?
Not really, though. If anything, I'll see you guys on the BS Busters, which is tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this has been this is Kenoshi Abominito here with another episode of Project Console, episode 27. Your playtime has expired.